Why is high-level play so problematic in D&D 5e, and why was watching the most recent adventure from Critical Role something that really helped nail down for me why it's such a problem, and also how to handle it in the future? For those of you who don't know, D&D 5e is notorious for being absolutely awful at providing any sort of support for high play. As the players get higher and higher levels, it gets to the point where the power dynamic gets a little ridiculous. Because the players are so powerful, the only way to really counteract it is to toss absurd, usually homebrew, monsters at them. And let's keep in mind, the player's power is spread out across 4, 5, sometimes 6, 7, or 8, but basically it's spread out across different adventurers. And so if you're gonna throw something super powerful at them, chances are one of them is going to get screwed over. So you really have to work to create that unique balance dynamic. Not only that, a lot of the class's capstone ability at level 20 are really bad, leading to a lot of players multi-classing instead of actually hitting that 20th level. Also, 9th level spells are typically absolutely broken, and there's a reason for that. They're the most powerful spells in the game. Of course, we want them to be broken, but at the same time, what this does is it creates no balance. You have a wizard that can cast Wish and a fighter that can attack 4 times, 8 times if he uses Action Surge. Now, don't get me wrong, attacking 8 times is great, but a Wish spell can do almost anything. One of the other things I've noticed when you're playing high level play is the amount of dice that you end up rolling gets a lot larger, which can be problematic. It can slow down combat, which is why you need a good set of dice. Which is where I'm going to introduce today's sponsor, Only Crits Dice. Now, I know that you guys have seen them over and over again on my channel, and it's because I legitimately personally endorse this company. They are my favorite dice company because they constantly have supported my channel, they've supported my community, and they want to support you guys. They have amazing sharp edge dice, they have amazing metal dice, and they have some of the prettiest dice sets I have seen, and I use a lot of them. In fact, I actually happen to have a set right here, which is one of my wife's favorite sets that came directly from them, and it has treated us very well. A lot of natural 20s. So if you want to support them and the channel, it would mean a whole ton to me if you could go look at the link in the description. You can use the code PLAYYOURROLE for a discount, and it just means a whole lot to me. Anyways, back to the Mighty Nine. I was watching the most recent episodes of Critical Role, specifically the ones where they revisited the Mighty Nine. And before I continue, let me make it very clear, spoilers for Campaign 2 and their most recent adventure where they brought back their old characters. If you don't want spoilers, click off now. But with that out of the way, I was watching their adventure and I actually went into it hoping to learn something about high level play. They were going on a big old grand adventure to take care of one of the single largest loose threads from the entire campaign, Uk'otoa. So going into this, I wanted to watch Critical Role, who are very experienced in playing D&D, have done so professionally for a long time, and more specifically, are focused on making sure that D&D is entertaining. I wanted to see how they did high level play. Now, I've seen before in Campaign 1 where they did their final adventure going all the way up to level 20 and yada yada yada, really doing their best to fight against Vecna. However, I was looking for something more. Back then, there was a lot of inconsistency with their balance. There was so much homebrew in the game that it was almost impossible to figure out. Now, that's not to say there isn't a lot of homebrew in Campaign 2, but at least they had ironed out a lot of the kinks at that point. And now, with their 3rd campaign currently going on under their belt, I knew that they had the experience to hopefully make this high-level play something special. So I kept an eye out, and I learned exactly what I think high-level play is and needs to be. Now, don't get me wrong, what I'm about to say is not a solution for all the problems in high-level play. I think that Wizards of the Coast needs to do better at helping between levels 15 and 20 for the players, the DM, etc. I think there just needs to be more support for that. However, I do think the way that Critical Role handled it in this adventure is how I'm going to be handling it in the future should nothing change. And that is handling high-level play as a way of revisiting old characters. Let me lay it out like this. Here is why I think this is the perfect way to do high-level play. 1, you get to advance the players several levels without any need to explain why or break the balance of the game. If you're revisiting old characters from an old campaign, obviously they will have continued their adventuring path, learning more, doing more, just probably separately. This means that you can do a large time skip and give them several levels, and it doesn't break anything, it makes perfect sense, and it gives the players the perfect chance to surprise everybody. What did you do with your levels? When we're watching the Mighty Nine, we get to see the different multi-class levels that everybody takes. We got to see that Kingsley was now part rogue, and that was amazing to see. I really enjoyed it.
And actually, this is also sneak attack damage, which is...
Indeed, it's advantage.
Yeah, that's
3d6, right, for you?
I believe it's 3d6.
What's
I'm a problem.
We also got to see things like not casting higher level spells, we got to see a lot of the different abilities everybody shows, and we got to see Jester actually show off her healing drops and really come in clutch.
Yeah, and they're gonna hold hands
Oh.
and dance around in a little circle. Ring around the rosy.
Yeah, like ring around the rosy.
When will we?
And I'm going to look at 4 and I'm going to say, I think this is what you call character growth. And I'm going to cast Mass Heal from my duplicates.
Oh, shit.
Oh, what? You set up a network?
Yeah.
Oh, shit!
That is so...
Yes?
Yes,
No
within
wonder
60
you
feet of
were
my duplicates.
Sweating it.
If I had lost that concentration, I would have been fucked. It casts from the duplicates, the spell.
Are they staying within 60 feet of us?
So, yeah, one is within 60 feet of the people on the boat.
So
and the
you
other
can
one-
restore up to 700 hit points, divided as you wish.
She is the healer! She is the healer! Character growth! Let's fucking go!
We stand a blue-horned queen. That's more healing than she did in the entire campaign.
I think mathematically you might be right.
So that was really cool, and it let us have this experience of excitement, but that's not the only thing. That's just giving players extra levels over the course of a time skip. That's something a lot of people have done. What does this have to do with high level play? Well, see, high level play typically requires huge bombastic stakes. It requires, I don't know, say a demigod breaking out of its eons long cage, prepared to wreak havoc across the entire world unless a group of adventurers can make a large sacrifice to stop it. Sound familiar? And also, exactly the sort of thing that a high-level play adventure needs. If your players are going to be that powerful, the stakes need to match, typically. And so you have to create these larger and larger and larger things, and it creates a really hard time when you're working in a campaign, because in the campaign, you want to keep the story moving forward, and any large obstacle or sacrifice that is presented to the players is inevitably going to sidetrack things and cause it to become more difficult to actually keep the story moving forward. But if you're just doing it to revisit old characters in a one-off adventure, well then you can introduce all the stakes that you want. See, in this story, Matt actually had not only Uk'otoa get released in this adventure, he also had the players talk with the Betrayer God and had one of the players make a pact with the Betrayer God. That's a huge deal. It's something that would ordinarily cause a lot of pause, take a lot of time to figure out, and would affect the story so hard it would probably cause it to swerve off somewhere else.
And I'll accept your pact.
Men, approach.
I just float out to him, still flying.
You drift over above the ground, the statue there. All the rest of you see the statue still, but in your mind, the heads look up to you. The eyes in the other two flicker on, and you feel that shadow, that darkness, the light from the sun temporarily begin to fade.
However, because this story was about the releasing of Uk'otoa, because it was about revisiting old characters, it was about finally having this final confrontation, the players were just able to dive into it. They were ready to make that pact. They were ready to do it. In fact, 2 of them were.
And that, what does the mark do again?
With the mark comes a boon to help you.
I like boons. I'm in. I'm interested. Right here.
Oh man, Kingsley,
What?
You just got this body.
you don't even know, like, what?
I don't know, it kind of tracks for
Yeah, I don't hate
for
it.
Kingsley.
I don't hate it.
How?
This is what they do. All of his forms have, like, this just feels right.
And so, because they were so ready to do it, there was no hesitation, there was no falling backwards, there was no stumbling over the difficulty of high-level D&D stakes, because it was just a one-off adventure. They knew they had already played out their campaign. They were just here to do high-level things. Not only that, they were able to get an incredibly powerful weapon and just hand it off to somebody else. Another issue with high-level play is dealing with items. Items tend to be absurd at that level, and it's so difficult to figure out who gets what, where goes where, what's the balance of the game. But in a one-off adventure, sure. Here's your weapon, Kingsley. Take it, go be badass, because the point is for us all to be badass.
You've been given a new start, so your choice is between light and dark matter, and this has a little bit of a dark connotation to it, so...
And here you are.
Well, it's not for me, and I'll extend the hilt to Kingsley.
Oh, you're giving him the rapier?
Are you sure?
I suppose we'll find out, won't we?
Every now and then I like you.
It's beautiful in your grasp, nearly weightless. As you touch it, there's this almost static electricity-like sensation that strikes through your fingers, and the buzzing, the gentle electrical buzzing of it makes it seem like it could be faster than any blade you've held.
I think there may be a problem. I appreciate that.
That's really the problem that I find with high-level play, is it just bogs down a campaign. It's so difficult to keep the story moving forward at a decent pace because there's so much going on. You introduce greater stakes, greater enemies, greater items, greater magic powers, and at the end of the day, it just becomes so much and it slows the story down to an absolute crawl. However, if you're doing it in a one-off adventure, revisiting old characters, you already know your characters, you know the stakes, and you're just ready to jump into it. You know that once the story's over, that's the end of this story. And maybe you revisit the characters again, that's fine. But all of the stuff that high-level play does to bog down your story tends to go away when you do it when revisiting old characters. Not only this, it allows you to revisit certain character moments that were really important from the story without having them slow things down too much. We got to see Ford go through some massive traumatic moments. He actually had to save Jester's life and then found himself harming her. That sucked. It was hard for him to go through. He had a really traumatic response to that, and that was really interesting to watch. We got to see that happen, and ordinarily when that happens in a campaign, that's something that's gonna stick around. We're gonna see a lot of that. That's gonna be an issue, but it wasn't an issue. Not this time. Why? Because it was a one-shot, and we got to see that traumatic moment. We got to see Ford go through character growth, and it wasn't a big deal. I mean, it was, don't get me wrong, it affected the story in a huge way, but it causes the players to really focus down on what they want to do and how they want to react to a situation because they know they only have a session or two to actually do it. I have many times wanted to revisit characters. I've wanted to revisit campaigns, and at one point I actually did so. My DM went and said, hey, I want to run a one-shot for your previous characters where you guys are higher level. And at the end of the session, a huge reveal was made about one of the villains, one that would have sidetracked and totally wrecked the campaign we were previously running, but now we just got to look forward to the next one. We get to look forward to the next one-shot we ran with these characters. I really think high-level play is good for one-shot adventures with established characters. Now, should it be made for an actual campaign? Yes, 100%. I am not saying that this is the perfect fix for it. But what it is right now in the support that Wizards of the Coast has given to high-level play, I think this is perfect. I think Critical Role did a great job encapsulating exactly what it looks like to run a good high-level adventure. And it requires some established stakes, some established characters, and the willingness to just charge forward. High-level play can really bog things down. But if you just keep moving forward and accept that and know that it's going to happen, it works out great. A huge thank you to the YouTube members without which this video wouldn't have been possible. An extra special shout out to BKBW, Corey Wood, Big D the Cool Guy, Ace Pizza Guy 22, Stormsaw, Emily Mares, and Agile Monk for subscribing at the Roll Slayer tier.